Nearly every song I write starts with a chord progression that either just came to me through inspiration or was an idea that I worked to capture. It sets the feel and the tone and is the foundation for the song. The chord progression inspires the melody, which is the next piece of the song that I write. The melody doesn't come long after the chord progression and usually happens naturally. I actually don't know how to write a melody. That part gets done for me, it seems. The melody is more than just the rise and fall of musical notes within the chord progression. It leads the listener through the song's path, and its motion can inspire emotions. I love how the twists and turns of a dynamic melody can pull on my heartstrings. The melody inspires the cadence of the music and sets down where the lyric syllables will fall. Many artists will write the lyrics and add the music afterwards. I've seen it done, and it can work well, but for me, the lyrics are more musical than meaningful. Every word has a characteristic tone and sound to it. Every word has a sonic quality, with the vowels providing the musical notes and the consonants marking the rhythm. Make them rhyme, and it seals the musical deal with a repetition that the listener can grasp hold of. Then add alliteration to accent the percussive nature of the consonants. I've heard people say that lyric meanings don't really matter, and that's true a lot of the time. But if the lyrics are doing their rock and roll duty as part of the music, then adding meaning only strengthens the song. Up until it's time to write lyrics, I'm in my comfort zone with the music. Music is ethereal as well as physical and flows freely for me. But when it's time to write the lyrics, that's when my heart clenches and the anxiety begins to grow. I think of myself as a good writer in general. I've written my fair share of essays, maintained a daily blog for more than a year, and I love to write inspirational blurbs for online media content. I'm also good at writing editorial-style letters to people with whom I disagree. There's nothing quite like exacting revenge with carefully considered words, engineered to cause feelings of guilt and self-doubt, while remaining polite and respectful. And I feel like I'm good at writing song lyrics too. I have been writing songs for most of my life, though not the volumes that pro writers turn out. Still, I know how to avoid cliches and how to build extra meaning into the narrative. But the anxiety comes regardless, as soon as I even consider starting to write lyrics for a new song. Just talking about it makes my chest flutter, and I'm beginning to understand why. In my early years of writing, there was zero pressure, just pure inspiration. Lyrics would just pop out with the melody as it happened. Part of that is just youth and the exhilaration that comes with discovering the world. I also never wrote with intention. Songs wanted to be released and didn't need to be teased out. Songs also didn't happen all the time, and as I think back, there were always pieces of music to work with, but lyric ideas were more scarce. I pretty much had to wait for some sort of dramatic emotional event to cause pain and deep reflection. Now I'm working on producing songs every week as part of my YouTube journey. The original plan was to help others with their songs so that I'd really only be working with music and editing lyrics. But that's coming slowly, so I've turned my attention to my own music. I think I've decided that, for now, I'm not looking at building a career for myself as a performing artist. That might happen eventually, but the lifestyle isn't for me, and it feels great helping others succeed with their music. I still want to write songs, build my skill, my experience, and my repertoire of original music. It's a big part of who I am. And by being compelled to create content for my project, I'm getting plenty of songwriting practice. And I do love songwriting, especially when the song starts to come together. But the hang-up always happens when it's time to write the lyrics. The first reason is that the lyrics could be anything. It's not hard to come up with lyrics. The challenge is writing good lyrics. And for me, that means nailing the sonic quality of the words, as well as creating lyrics that make the listener feel something. It needs to be a sucker punch to the gut. New country music, especially in the 90s, really had this down. The story builds, and then there's a line that breaks you down and makes you cry. I'm going for this every time I write, usually missing the mark, but getting closer every time. It often feels that I expect commercial success with every song, but I write for myself first, and if song lyrics don't meet my own expectations, then I am disappointed. And that's a big part of what preloads the pressure. That means I agonize over every word, wondering if it's going to pull its weight or come off cheesy. It's always exciting to come up with a new piece of music, and I feel like each one is going to be the next great song. I used to let that music simmer for a few months before carrying on with it. Time passed, helped separate the chaff, and some of the pieces of music just didn't make the cut. The longer period of time also helps me internalize the music, and that helps inspire lyric or story ideas for the song. Lately, my process has been more contrived. A common piece of advice to creators is to not wait for inspiration, and I've been following that path. I'll sit down at my workstation and feel around in my soul for a thread of inspiration to grasp hold of. And that works for the musical parts of the songs. But what about the story? What is the song about? There are songwriting exercises that can help songwriters get started, but I already feel that forcing the writing is bad enough. The songs probably shouldn't be random ideas, though I wrote a song called Quinnell that way, and I don't feel like the song has any less meaning just because I drew random words from a hat to start a song idea. The other factor is that I usually write a set of lyrics in one sitting. There have been lots of late nights staring at a sheet of paper, waiting for inspiration to strike. And the song normally gets completed within 6 hours or so. It's just that the tension is almost unbearable, as I wonder if I'll ever write anything again, let alone the next few words. And then there's the self-doubt. But the next day, I'm almost always pleased by the results. Sure, maybe they're not as perfect as I'd like, but when it looks like I did as best that I could, I feel more content with the outcome. Though there are occasional absolute failures. And as much as I'd like to believe that there's a perfect set of lyrics for every song, sometimes it feels impossible, because the words need to have a good sonic quality, the right number of syllables, and maybe they need to rhyme with another word, all the while keeping the flow of the narrative as well as providing profound meaning. You might be able to get some of these traits in, but it's tough getting it all. Once the lyrics are penned, then it's all downhill. The biggest motivation I have for getting the lyrics done is that I get to sing the song. Up until this point, it's all a bunch of freestyle that leaves a lot to be desired. Once I have the lyrics, each and every word and note has a place and purpose, and you really can't know how the lyrics turned out until they get a bit of mileage in the song. It's best to sing the lines as you write them, so that the cadence fits, and you can tell whether or not the lyrics flow well with the music. But until you play the song a few times, you don't really know how your efforts worked out. Songwriting can be a real roller coaster of emotions as the song comes together. High hopes at the beginning can plunge into desperation as the tough bits get worked out. And then you're back up as the results start to take shape. Disappointment can turn into pride, and then self-doubt turns up as you consider how your listeners will feel about your song. And this can last for weeks or longer as you continually reevaluate your work. Choosing a steady pace for songwriting can put a lot of pressure on an artist. I'm feeling the tension trying to write a new song every week or two. But at the same time, if you see the process as a steady build-up of practice and experience, it's easier to let songs go. to view them as ephemeral art and let them rise and then fall away, so that the old songs aren't weighing you down and keeping the new ones from coming because of ego and perfectionism. To not only release them to the audience, but also release them from yourself. So thanks for giving me some of your time to listen. Just talking about it helps me feel better about my songwriting. I'll still feel anxious each time I go through the process, but I understand it a bit more, and maybe that's all I need to keep me going.